Hey, friends! Just so you know, we enjoy the swear word and we rely on good old fashioned humor to get through some seriously dark subject matter. At no time do we intend any disrespect toward the victims or families of the victims in the cases we cover. Also, be sure to listen to the end for a few palate cleansing bloopers to reset your mindset. And with that, we thank you for listening and we hope you enjoy. Hey, friends, welcome to Crime Will Tell. Your hosts, Carrie and James here.
Sup?
Today's episode, we'll be discussing the details of two unsolved cases.
Ooh, okay.
We haven't done an unsolved in a really long time. Katelyn Kelley and Nicholas Hietpas. Both cases occurred in the state of Wisconsin. Katelyn disappeared in 2020 from the Menominee Indian Reservation, and Nicholas went missing in 2019 from Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And
what's his last name?
Hietpas, Hietpas. Hietpas.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying hippos, and I'm like, is that Lady
Hippos?
Hippos?
Oh, Hieppas. Oh, that's adorable. Is that what Lady Hippos are called? Hieppas?
I don't think so, but...
Refreshingly, this episode won't see us wading through some serious, gruesome details. So we'll get a reprieve from that today, but what we will be wading through is a whole lot of discomfort, conjecture, a serious lack of closure. I struggle with lack of closure.
Same.
Before we raise our glasses, I do have to backstory my drink today. I am drinking alcoholic coffee.
Ooh, okay.
And here's why, because we are re-recording. So we recorded this episode last night, and it was the most amazing episode ever that no one will ever get to hear. And here's why. Because Carrie's audio was fucked. Again, shocker for all of our people that have been with us since the beginning. We know Carrie's always in a glorious fight with her fucking audio, but my computer has the whole NVIDIA platform. It updated. And when it updates, it automatically pushes all the new settings to on. And when that happens, it completely crashes my audio for the platform that we use. And so Jamie produces and edits, and she's like, yo, what is up with the buzzing? And I was like, God damn it. So I was mowing the lawn last night. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh, God damn it, NVIDIA. So it is morning time the next day. We are re-recording this. So I am drinking a whole lot of Baileys with a splash of coffee.
Ooh.
Plus I'm jumping on a plane later to fly. And so I'm just going to get my day started. What are you drinking?
Well, I have to work later today. So I too am drinking coffee, but it's just NA coffee, just black fucking
non-alcoholic coffee.
That's and some water because,
hydrate.
I'm a health nut. Just kidding. But
cheers, my friend.
Cheers to you.
Clink.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, unsurprisingly, this will be on the shorter side for our normal episode lengths. And the reason why is because there just isn't a whole lot to either of the two cases we're going to be covering today. That's the unfortunate part of unsolved cases. There's just not a whole lot to go on. We do have more to go on in Katelyn's case than we do in Nicholas's case. So let me share what we do know and what we don't know. I want to do our part to keep Katelyn and Nicholas's names out there. Someone knows something somewhere, and hopefully someday we'll do the right thing and come forward with what they know.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being their families. They don't have closure. God. Just poof. So we know where Katelyn is. Her murder is just not solved. Nicholas is just gone into thin air.
Okay,
so
he's just missing.
Still. Just poof. Ooh, still missing. Okay. We have less, like I said, we have a lot more to go on with Katelyn, but we have just a drop when it comes to Nicholas, at least that's been shared out in the public. Gotcha. So anyway, okay. So in Katelyn's case, we do have a somewhat decent understanding of her last movements, her last social media post, and I do think we can reasonably infer her mental and emotional state at the time of her disappearance. And I talk all about that. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
Let me take you through her last known steps on the evening of Tuesday, the 16th of June of 2020. So like COVID landed smack in the middle of the United States in like March of 2020, I think is when we shut down. So like 3 months later, people's attention is not on crime, let's say, especially of the type where Indigenous women are concerned, unfortunately. Yeah. And Katelyn was an Indigenous woman. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but she's just one of many. So it's fucked, really. So we are in the evening hours of the 16th of June, 2020 at 10:30 p.m. Katelyn, who's 22 years old at this time, she was seen by someone, who knows, walking along County Road VV near the intersection of that road and Silver Canoe Road on the Menominee Indian Reservation. She was headed towards the direction of the town of Kashina, which sits within the reservation land. Kashina is situated in northeast Wisconsin, like about, so Jamie and anybody that's familiar with like sort of the Fox Valley area where Jamie and I live in Wisconsin, Kashina is about a 45-minute drive just due northwest of Green Bay. So you just go north and kind of to the west and you're going to get into the Menominee Reservation land area, and Kashina is up there. So at 10:30 p.m., she was seen walking along County Road VV near the intersection of that road and Silver Canoe Road on the reservation land. She was on foot and she was alone. There was no reporting on her mental or emotional state, any reporting that suggested she was exhibiting odd behavior as she was walking down the road. This is just the last known time anyone can say with any certainty that she was seen in person, alive, and seemingly well.
As far as like normal behavior, was it normal for her to be walking in that area?
I don't know.
Okay.
That I don't know. I don't know if the circumstances, seeing her, well into the evening hours, walking alone at night down a very rural road, because we get into the topography of the reservation land, and it's not exactly like hiker friendly. That's not where you're going to go to be like, I want to go outdoors and experience nature. Let's go to the reservation and hike. So I'm sure there's lovely hiking on the reservation, but in terms of like, I'm going to go to the Nicolet National Forest, which pops up in Nicholas's case. Lots of people, that's a destination for hiking.
Gotcha. Okay.
So a short while after that 10:30 p.m. sighting of Katelyn on foot, a still image from a security camera located somewhere on the reservation, I don't know where, that's never been released, captures Katelyn in a car leaving the reservation. She is not driving. The identity of the driver cannot be ascertained from this still image. Investigators believe Katelyn caught a ride from someone, and their thinking is that this person took Katelyn roughly about the 8 miles away to her apartment in Shawano. So she lived in Shawano, Wisconsin, which was about 8 miles from where the still image from that security camera somewhere on the reservation caught her in a car. The driver to public reporting has never been identified. And that image captured from that security camera is the only evidence known publicly of the last known transit trip Katelyn ever took. Like basically her in motion.
Okay.
But investigators know Katelyn got home somehow. I don't know how. Multiple sources report that it's a known fact Katelyn arrived at her apartment in Shawano, even though we don't have any footage or other evidence that proves she like actually walked through the door of her apartment. There's no witness statements claiming to have physically seen her in her apartment. still, quote unquote, she made it home is treated as like an established fact within the official narrative of Katelyn's last known movements.
Interesting. Okay.
Things seem quiet in Katelyn's life for a few hours after this point. You would think maybe she would have gone to bed. Nope. She makes a Facebook post around 3 o'clock in the morning of the 17th of June, so the very next day. This is where Katelyn's timeline narrows down onto like one singular compelling detail. A black SUV parked outside her apartment building. Katelyn notices it. She thinks it's unusual, and we know this because she actually makes this Facebook post about the unusualness of this black SUV sitting outside her apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Creepy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This Facebook post is the last confirmed social media or otherwise digital footprint action Katelyn ever takes.
And she was obviously creeped out because
she was, yeah.
It's like she's putting it out there like, hey guys.
Hey guys. So, you know.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Who do I call and be like, I'm scared, you know, I'm weirded out or whatever.
So it seems that at 3 a.m. in the morning of the 17th of June, everything stops for Katelyn. Because from there on out, there are no calls, there are no texts, nothing coming from Katelyn. She's not initiating anything, and she's not responding to anything. Check-ins with her family, which her family immediately identified as deeply and horrifyingly alarming, out of character for her. The next day, on the 18th of June, that was Thursday, Katelyn's mother reported her missing to the local authorities. She was like, nope, this is not right. They expressed their concern again at the highly unusual silence coming from Katelyn. She was a devoted mother to her young son. She had a partner who was her young son's father. Like, she stayed in regular contact. She was part of her family. So to sum it all up, these are the precise, verifiable last known movements of Katelyn Kelley. She was seen walking alone on foot along County Road VV around 10:30 p.m. on the evening of the 16th of June, 2020. She was seen near the intersection of County Road VV and Silver Canoe Road on the Menominee Indian Reservation, headed towards the city of Kashina. There is an unconfirmed but widely accepted ride that she took off the reservation with the assumption that she arrived at some point to her apartment in Shawano, Wisconsin. At around 3 o'clock in the morning, Katelyn notices a black SUV parked outside of her apartment in the early morning hours of the 17th of June. She posts about this black SUV at around 3 a.m. on Facebook, noting its unusualness and that it was kind of like, ugh. And then sudden and total silence from Katelyn. That's it.
Did she live with her boyfriend?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was wondering where like he and their son were.
I don't know. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what we can reasonably infer about Katelyn Kelley's mental and emotional state at the time of her disappearance. So I alluded to this at the outset. When you look at the final hours of Katelyn's life, one thing becomes immediately clear. There is no reliable sourced description of her mental or emotional state before she vanished. And that absence, like, it's almost like that silence in the record ends up telling us almost as much as the facts themselves, in my humblest of opinions.
Okay.
We know where she was. We know roughly when she was there. We know she made a Facebook post at 3 a.m. about a black SUV outside her apartment, and then we know there was nothing. Here's the part that I think matters. None of the official sources, not the Wisconsin DOJ Clearinghouse, Menominee Tribal Police, the FBI, yep, the FBI is involved. I can't wait to talk about that. Any verified reporting at all. Nothing described her as scared, distressed, intoxicated, paranoid, depressed, behaving strangely, under the influence of something. There's no mention of any argument with someone, no suggestion she was planning to leave, no hint of a mental health crisis, no witness describing her as upset or emotional. In fact, across every credible source, her internal state is simply absent, not documented, it's not referenced, and I think that absence is highly meaningful. Because when investigators do have information about a victim's emotional or mental state, fear, agitation, intoxication, conflict, they include it.
Oh, yeah. They love those adjectives.
They love it. It helps shape the timeline. It explains decisions. It narrows suspects. But let's be real, it gets clicks. They fucking include that shit. It's salacious. It's drama. But with Katelyn Kelley, they didn't, which to me translates to they didn't have anything reliable to report. So when we come back, we'll get into why I think what we can infer is what we can infer.
Okay.
So what can we infer about Katelyn's mental and emotional health at the time of her disappearance in June of 2020? In my opinion, again, my opinion, only two really legitimate and important behavioral clues exist. One is that she noticed something unusual, that black SUV. It was unfamiliar. It was parked outside her apartment in the middle of the night. And that's awareness of one's environment. And it tells me that she was alert, she was aware, she was paying attention to her surroundings. She was even making note of that oddness of that SUV in a Facebook post. And the other behavioral context clue is that she abruptly stopped communicating, which her family immediately recognized as out of character. That tells us the disappearance itself was suspicious. Yeah. Not that she was in a particular emotional state beforehand. You know, like some people, if they're like really struggling, it's a known fact, and then all of a sudden they go radio silent. It wasn't like that. And that's it. Everything else is speculation. And in my opinion, the sum of the context clues and the known factors strongly suggests her mental and emotional state at the time of her disappearance were really fucking sound. On the 18th of June, after Katelyn's mother raised the alarm, Menominee Tribal Police and Shawano Police began investigating Katelyn's disappearance simultaneously because Katelyn's last known movement spanned both jurisdictions. Menominee Reservation, that was her last known sighting, and her Shawano apartment, where her last known social media post is widely assumed to have taken place. Unfortunately, and as all too often becomes the case, pardon the pun, this dual jurisdiction issue becomes a major complication throughout this entire fucking case. It's usually
a shit show.
And I wonder if that's like still what's going, like fucking just dick whipping everybody, like mushroom stamping people. No, I'm in charge, whatever. Now, fast forward a few weeks into the investigation, tribal police released that still image I talked about that was captured from that security camera located somewhere on the reservation, capturing Katelyn in the passenger seat of a car headed off the reservation. They published that along with an appeal to the public, calling on the unknown driver who picked her up and allegedly drove her to her apartment in Shawano to come forward. No other visual evidence of Katelyn's last known movements have ever been released, and it has never been publicly confirmed whether or not the unknown Uber driver has come forward.
Wow.
I don't know if it was a legit Uber driver, but she had a driver.
In those situations, it's like if you're not involved, just come forward.
Yeah. If you're
maybe
not
they
involved,
did and they just haven't released it or, you know.
Quite possible. This is very much an active and ongoing investigation. So I imagine they are keeping a lot of details close to the vest, I would think.
Yeah.
But there's also jurisdictional dick slinging, and the FBI is involved. We'll talk about that a little bit. But anyway, so yes, it's never been publicly released whether or not the unknown driver has been identified or has come forward.
Gotcha.
Search efforts expanded across northeastern Wisconsin, looking for any shred of evidence or any indication as to what the fuck happened to Katelyn. We touched on the topography of the reservation land earlier. The topography of the Menominee Reservation land is definitely not ideal for search efforts. It is a large swath of land. It's about 360 square miles in size, and the terrain itself is unforgiving to search parties. It's heavily wooded forests, all natural and raw, not developed, wetlands and rivers snake all
Ooh.
through there. And there are lots of rural roads. It's not like we've got super concrete highways going up and around in that reservation land. It's just not designed for, effective and smooth searching. Tribal police, community volunteers, private search and rescue parties, and eventually, yes, the FBI all joined forces to search for Katelyn on the reservation, which is pretty cool, even though there's a lot of jurisdictional shit going on. Searches were conducted near her apartment in Shawano as well. There was a private search team who used tracker doggies. And all of these tracker doggies were very good boys and girls, and they deserved a lot of treats.
Well, yeah.
And all of these doggies with their searchers, they searched roughly a 50-acre patch of wooded land behind and adjacent to Katelyn's apartment. I suspect they were looking for any trace of scent and like where she went after she left her apartment.
Yeah.
I think she got into a car. We don't know. I am purely speculating. I have no idea. But if the doggy trackers weren't able to pick her scent, I suspect she got into a car because she somehow, some way got back to the reservation, and we will talk about that. Despite these extensive and exhaustive searches, nothing was ever found. And one of the open questions investigators had was, did she leave Shawano ever shortly after 3 a.m. when she made that Facebook post? Or was she ever in Shawano?
Oh.
Because again, there's no verifiable proof that she ever made it back to her apartment in Shawano.
Right. Wow.
And I don't have anything about a cell phone. Like there's nothing about
that.
I saw the look on your face and I was like, I bet. Yeah, her digital footprint is summarily lacking in public records or verifiable sources. So I don't know if they have information and they're not releasing it. I don't know. I don't know if she ever got back to Shawano. But again, like I said, that is an established assumption within her last known movements.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I do have a fun fact though. The Menominee Reservation is the largest reservation east of the Mississippi River. And we get to call it home here in Wisconsin. Yeah. I just thought that was really neat. A little fun fact and a yucky story. The Menominee community really rallied behind helping to solve what happened to Katelyn. They put up flyers. They deployed social media campaigns. They organized multiple searches. They put out repeated pleas for information. In July 2020, tribal police in the Menominee Indian tribe held a press conference and they announced a $5,000 reward for information. Like they just wanted information. We'll pay. If you have information, this is what she was wearing. Here you go, $5,000. They just wanted information. Katelyn's case became part of the broader missing and murdered Indigenous women crisis we have going on here in the United States, unfortunately.
And Canada. It's just like...
And Canada.
Yeah, it's awful.
And like I said, even the FBI joined the investigation. Sources don't indicate specifically when, but it was pretty early on in the timeline of events, like within the first several weeks of the investigation. But it was at some point after when tribal police released that plea to the public and the still security camera image of Katelyn in the car leaving the reservation. The FBI joined after that, but within the first several weeks.
Okay.
Teensy rabbit hole about the FBI because I was like, what in the actual why? Why? Well, there's a lot of whys, apparently. I was curious. And so it turns out that under federal law here in the United States, the FBI has jurisdiction over major crimes, homicide, kidnapping, suspicious disappearance, major crimes, when they occur on Native American reservations.
Okay.
Because Katelyn's last known verified sighting was on reservation land, that alone was enough to trigger FBI involvement. Had that not been the case, the fact that Katelyn's case crossed what appeared to be tribal and non-tribal boundaries, because again, it's an established assumption that she was back in her apartment in Shawano. The FBI is routinely brought in to coordinate that due to the complexity in tribal versus non-tribal laws. Okay. Well, even if that hadn't been the case, Katelyn's disappearance was certainly mired in suspicious circumstances, which elevated it from a missing persons case to a potential foul play case, which again would legally trigger FBI involvement. So fair to say, all bases were covered regarding the fact that the FBI was going to become legally involved in Katelyn's case.
Okay.
Anyway, after the FBI joined, they assisted tribal police with the organized searches, witness and community member interviews, and, of course, any forensic analysis needs, of which has been either very little or non-existent, because if anything has happened, it has not been released. And even so, after all of this, no major public breakthroughs have been reported. And for the next 9 months, there were no confirmed sightings of Katelyn, no digital activity from her, no witness statements from individuals with information coming forward, no identified suspects, no new public leads. Then, on Wednesday, the 17th of March, 2021, happy fucking St. Patrick's Day, human remains were discovered on the Menominee Reservation. The exact location, even the general whereabouts of where these remains were found, has never been disclosed. How they were discovered has also never been disclosed. But 5 days later, on the 22nd of March, 2021, it was confirmed by investigators that the remains did indeed belong to Katelyn Kelley. Authorities confirmed Katelyn's manner of death was homicide, but they never released her cause of death. And to date, her cause of death has never been released.
Wow. And at 9 months, I'm sure like any sort of like indicators
and it was
of what
in
would
summer
have happened and stuff. Yeah, that
animal activity. They may not know, but they haven't released one way or the other. They have never released any details around the condition of her remains, if there was any visible trauma on her remains, any forensic findings on or around her remains, her estimated time of death, whether she died on or off the reservation. Her case is still being actively worked, like I said before, so it could be that they're holding all of these details close. But we have a ton of unanswered questions. This girl had a large family. Katelyn was loved. Katelyn was an active member of a very large, loving family. And it was clear she was cherished. Her Find a Grave page, I encourage everybody to go out there and just look. It gives a glimpse into her life. Katelyn had a partner. They had a young son together. She was born and raised in Shawano, Wisconsin. Both her parents lived there. She had 7 siblings. I think 4 sisters and 3 brothers, if I'm getting the names right. She had one sister who died as an infant in 1999. Katelyn would have been 2 at the time, so it probably didn't tremendously impact her.
Yeah.
She possibly had a bestie by the name of Elizabeth. The word sister was in quotations, so I'm assuming she was considered like a non-blood sister.
Right, yeah.
Sadly, Katelyn's mother, Michelle Kelley, passed away unexpectedly at the very, very young age of 47 on the 25th of March, 2023.
Oh, damn.
No cause of death has ever been publicly released for Michelle's death. No news outlets, no obituaries, no public records provide any additional details. That woman had very sad life circumstances. She lost a baby, a daughter, in 1999. In 2020, her 22-year-old daughter, Katelyn, goes missing. 9 months later, in March 2021, they find her daughter, Katelyn's remains. I cannot imagine the heartbreak and ache. I can't.
Right.
Just can't. Someone somewhere knows something. Please, if you do, even if you don't think it's relevant, let the authorities determine that and take any information you may know to the Menominee Tribal Police Department at 715-799-5806 or to the Wisconsin Clearinghouse for Missing and Exploited Children and Adults at 1-800-THE-HOPE or 1-800-843-4673. I do believe you can remain anonymous. We'll also post this information in the show notes for the episode. Someone knows something somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, time for a little break. When we come back, we'll get into the very little we know about Nicholas Hietpas. Hopefully someone knows something there too.
Yeah. Damn.
All right. Nicholas Jeffrey Hietpas. The last time anyone ever saw Nicholas alive, was on Monday, the 1st of April, 2019. The Charlie Project specifies that he was last seen by family and friends before vanishing into thin air near Doty, Wisconsin. Doty is a pretty rural town, about a 90-minute drive or so, just straight due north from Appleton. Just straight north, about 90 minutes. It's heavily forested up there, and it's part of the massive and stunningly beautiful Nicolet National Forest region. Now, like Katelyn Kelley, Nicholas was 22 years old at the time of his disappearance. No one knows who he spoke to, what he said, or where he was headed on the day he disappeared. We don't even have a timeline or even general awareness around his last known movements. The public doesn't know who last saw Nicholas alive. Investigators have never publicly released the identity of the witness who provided the clothing description or the confirmed April 1st sighting in Doty.
Okay.
What we do know is that at the time of his disappearance, someone, an unidentified witness, said he was wearing a black hoodie with green lettering that read, "Get your gooch on," blue American Eagle jeans, and brown and mustard colored steel-toed work boots. We know this because the Appleton Police Department documented his clothing based on at least one unidentified witness's information. And we know Nicholas wasn't alone. He had his sweet, sweet Samantha with him, his white German shepherd, who was absolutely a good fucking girl and deserved many treats.
Yeah.
After the 1st of April, 17 days dragged on with nothing. No sightings of Nicholas, no calls to or from, no texts, social media interaction, digital footprint of any kind, financial activity, nothing. Then, on the 18th of April, Nicholas's 2012 black Ford Fusion car was discovered abandoned. It was found by an ATV rider on a remote forest road near Highway 64 and Shadow Lake Road in Oconto County, which sits right on the edge of the Nicolet National Forest boundary. Outside of Nicholas's car, investigators found a tarp and some gear, though we never learned what that gear consisted of. It's never been publicly disclosed.
Fuck.
More alarmingly, about a half a mile away, or about 0.8 kilometers, if we can ever get out of the imperial system here in the United States, in the opposite direction of where Nicholas's car had been found, investigators located Samantha's collar. What made it so alarming, aside from the fact that, and we'll get into this later, a half a mile away is farther than what dogs would, well-trained dogs like Samantha would normally just wander off to. That's quite a distance away. It was not broken, the collar, but it looked like it had absolutely been deliberately unclasped and taken off of Samantha and dropped on the forest floor. But we don't know if it was nefarious. You see, Nicholas was an outdoorsy kind of dude. But what makes it odd is that no one understands why he went to that particular section of isolated forest. That part of the Nicolet National Forest is generally not where most hikers and outdoorsy people will go and play. So let's go back to the gear found on the ground outside Nicholas's abandoned car and Samantha's collar found about a half a mile away, deliberately unclasped. There are two things I want to note. First, the tarp on the ground, it was a multi-purpose item. We all know that. We all use tarps for various different reasons. Tarps are primarily designed to be used outdoors. Knowing what Nicholas was intending to use this tarp for could give the investigation a good deal of information. However, nothing has ever been publicly released to suggest the condition this tarp was found in, whether or not that tarp even belonged to Nicholas, if that could be proved, if it was wrapped around something, how far away from the car it was found. I don't know.
What the fuck was on it? I need to know what those those items were.
Yeah.
So badly. That's so
yes. What was on it? Yes.
Yeah.
So it could seem like you could take it all one way, like, oh, it's completely innocent. Or you could take it another way and be like, what the fuck? Secondly, Samantha's collar. Deliberately unclasped means intentional human interaction with that collar. Is this concerning? Did Nicholas take Samantha's collar off on purpose for some reason? Like I said, well-trained doggies don't usually stray a half a mile away from camp. It seemed far enough away to be more deliberate. Whether or not that deliberateness is nefarious is completely unknown.
Yeah.
Investigators conducted 3 separate exhaustive ground searches with tracking doggies in the Forest Road area where Nicholas's abandoned car had been discovered. They searched surrounding Nicolet National Forest area. They searched the area where Samantha's collar had been discovered. They interviewed Nicholas's family, friends, and acquaintances. The Appleton Police Department has issued multiple public appeals for information into the whereabouts of Nicholas Jeffrey Hietpas over the years. The investigation is still very much ongoing. They're still looking for assistance in finding Nicholas. Multiple agencies are involved in his case, and basically, this is all we know. And Nicholas and Samantha have been missing for more than 7 years now. And basically, every year on the anniversary of Nicholas and Samantha's disappearance, the Appleton Police Department puts out a plea on Facebook for any information. Again, if you know anything at all about the disappearance of Appleton resident Nicholas Jeffrey Hietpas, you are so highly encouraged to contact the Appleton Police Department at 920-832-5564 or the Wisconsin Clearinghouse for Missing and Exploited Children and Adults at 1-800-THE-HOPE or 1-800-843-4673. Again, we'll put the contact details for both Katelyn and Nicholas's cases in this episode's show notes. Unsolved cases leave me very unsettled.
Yeah. Do you have, like, after researching these, do you have, like, a gut feeling that's, like, pulling you one direction about what you think might have happened?
I have no idea. There's just not enough information to even go off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speculate. Yeah.
I think in both Katelyn and Nicholas's cases, there is more evidence, certainly with Katelyn's case, I would imagine, that has not been released publicly.
Right.
Because it would probably compromise the investigation. But at least I really hope so. People know what happened to Katelyn and Nicholas. People know. Unless someone knows what happened to Katelyn for fucking sure.
Right.
She was murdered. But Nicholas, what if he wanted to disappear?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a telling flag that his beloved Samantha was with him. You see, he never would have left her back. He never would have left her back. But why would her collar come off?
Right. And it's like if he was just, because I know several people with dogs. I can't with mine because she would fucking run away. But like they'll take them out into the woods like that and take their collar off or their leash or whatever so they can just run
free and unfettered.
No other dogs around or other people and just let them explore. But if you do that, you're not just going to drop the collar on the ground. You're going to put it in a pocket or a backpack or something. So like part of me was like, oh, maybe they just were hiking and he was like, all right, go ahead, Samantha. But he would have had the collar with her or with him, you know, he would have hung on to it. So that kind of squashed that idea.
He wanted to disappear and he was dropping his identity and Samantha's identity.
Yeah.
Or maybe he meant to keep the collar and he put it in his bag and it fell out.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I could justify anything.
Yeah.
With the
or
very
maybe he
little
didn't
information.
Put it on well. Like maybe he didn't accidentally clasp it all the way.
And it fell off.
She was tooting around in the woods and it fell off and that was it. Wow.
But then where are they?
Yeah. Yeah. Where the fuck is Samantha? Where the fuck is Nicholas? I don't like it.
Thank you everyone for listening. And please, if you're willing to amplify this episode to get Katelyn's and Nicholas's names out there as much as possible, please share with others, especially local listeners to the Wisconsin area. As always, if you feel so inclined, please leave us a rating and review. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and be part of the OG crowd. Though, in all transparency, the only rewards you get are bragging rights and good feels for helping Crime Will Tell grow now.
And our eternal love and admiration.
Eternal love.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that, Goodbye, Jamie.
Goodbye, Carrie. What, Carrie?
Bailey's is my friend.
She looks like Homer Simpson.
A purring cat Russian combo?
Is that not what you wanted?
Holy shit!
We would have done loads better these days.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Yes, you can.
Ba-dum-bum. Okay.